What's going on, guys? Welcome back. More MMA commentary for you. Do me a favor, take a moment, like button, subscribe button, criticism in the comment section. Twitter, Shutdown Safety is my username. Anthony Smith's Twitter is Lionheart Smith. We are here to recap UFC Fight Night 85, Frank Mir versus Mark Hunt. And I'll start with the fight that I had originally with Beck Rawlings versus Zoe Ham, and I will pronounce it Ham because I am American, and that's what it says. I thought that Ham actually came out very good. You know, she had very nice speed. I thought that was working well for her. I was a little worried she kept holding her counter right it back a little bit. Rawlings struggled to me with range. She lacked aggression. Ham had a great defense. I think she held way back on her kicks. I think if she would have focused on the kicks a lot more, this could have been a much different fight. Cardio was an issue for both of them. Though, setting my pick aside, I didn't see this as a unanimous decision. I saw it a lot closer than that. I was really kind of shocked that it wasn't split. But to me, Beck Rawlings came out and got the win. She did what she had to do, but I just don't see it as a unanimous. She won every single round. I just didn't think that was the case.
Then moving right on to James Tahuna versus Steve Boss. I was a little bit surprised by that fight. I didn't take into consideration the layoff that Tahuna had coming in. He started a lot slower than he had in his previous fights. I don't know if that had anything to do with his losing streak and with being caught by Shogun and being knocked out. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But as I said in my preview, they both have knockout power in their hands, and in this fight, anyone had a puncher's chance. And I think that Steve Boss just landed sooner than Tahuna did. I think he got going faster. But even though I did pick Tahuna to win this fight, I wasn't surprised to see Steve catch him and knock him out.
That fight to me had a slow ref stoppage at the end before the finish, but also kind of a little bit of a controversy with Dan Kelly versus Antonio Carlos Jr. And to me, this was Jr.'s fight to win. I would stand by that even now. It really was his fight to win. He oddly came out against, an Olympic wrestler and tries to take his back. He was trying to get this rear naked choke. He was trying to get an arm bar. And to his credit, Kelly fought off really, really well. And Junior eventually just started to get really desperate, gave up his back, and Kelly took advantage of him. He really did take advantage of some horrific level changes and literally just leveled him out by TKO. It was almost like the ref wanted to give the benefit of the doubt that, they almost wanted Junior to kind of pass this torch, as I said, and let it go on a bit too long. But, Jan Kelly did what he had to do. He weathered the storm, and at the end of the day, he actually manned up a lot in that fight, showed me a lot of heart, and basically just came out with the win that I really didn't give him credit to even have the ability to get.
I think the ref stoppage or the ref performance in general was the big talk of the night. I think that the refs really kind of shit the bed here tonight. In the Johnny Cage-Jake Matthews fight, I think the refs still had some problems there. There was a point in time that Jake Matthews kind of had the back a little bit and was going for a choke, but it wasn't anything that was dangerous. I don't think that it was anything that was going to make Johnny Cage tap. And the ref was even trying to step in there a little bit, which was kind of the exact opposite of what he was doing all night, as far as letting guys take a lot more damage than they needed to. I was really surprised by the Johnny Cage and Jake Matthews fight. I thought that Johnny Cage was going to have the head and shoulders advantage on the feet, and that just wasn't the case. He was taking some big counter shots right from the get-go. He took some big counter right hands. He was backed up a little bit, which isn't really Johnny Cage's style. He doesn't back up. He moves forward, he's aggressive, and he picks his shots really well. I'm not sure if Johnny Cage is off that or if Jake Matthews is just really that good. Jake Matthews really made a believer out of me with this fight. I really didn't give too much of a chance in this fight because I thought the stylistic matchup was bad. But, true to what he talked about this whole time, is he was going to go in there and give Johnny Cage everything he can handle, and he did just that. And I think Jake Matthews really put himself on the map in this fight, and he railed the hype train that Johnny Cage is really rolling with.
Prior to this, all of our picks had been wrong, just for clarity. And it's not like our picks were bad. I think it was just, it shows the unpredictability with MMA, which is why, fans love it so much. You go on to Neil Magny and Hector Lombard, honestly, the only fight we called together, both with Magny. I think Magny came out, cornered early, really gets ground and pounded by Lombard to a point where the fight could have been stopped several times in the first round. And then after they stood up, you could tell exactly what we had talked about. Lombard seemed totally spent. I mean, you talk about no pursuit, hands down. He gets knocked down. At the end of the second round, I don't know how the fight wasn't stopped. If we're talking about protecting fighters here, because Magny literally hit him 40 times. Yes, he was moving his hands to protect his head, but he wasn't responding at all. And to me, that really showed you, we go back, with the steroids, I don't know where Lombard's, work ethic was. I don't know where he was training. But after that 3-minute mark in that fight, he was a different fighter. He didn't get that early out, and then he got beyond gas.
Absolutely. I think that this was one of the worst performances from a ref that I've ever seen in my entire career. The entire place where I was watching the fight was just screaming how, stop the fight, stop the fight. That's not how you protect fighters, and that's the entire ref's job, is to protect fighters. And he took at least 40 unanswered shots. If you watch my preview, you've seen or heard me say, if it made it out of the first round, it was Neil Magny's fight all the way, and I think that held pretty true. Hector Lombard came out guns blazing like he does every single fight. In my honest opinion, I think that him not being on performance-enhancing drugs anymore played a huge role in him not being able to go a full 15 minutes with his foot on the gas like he has in the past. I think Neil Magny really showed up and kind of helped true to what he's been doing. He's surviving the early storms. He's staying technical. The guy's mindset is bulletproof. He could have very well gotten down on himself after that first round, because that very well could have been a 10-8 round. But he came out in the second round as if the first round never happened, and that's something you really have to look up to, especially me as a fighter. He came into the second round a new guy. He came in fresh. He came in not thinking about the first round. He was still in there exchanging, even though he'd been hurt on his feet. I think Neil Magny really raised his fan base. I think he really proved himself to be one of the top welterweights in the UFC.
So to me, when you look at Lombard, who eventually gets stopped in the third, it's such a short stoppage there at the end, and I don't understand how you can go from one extreme to the other. Magny's really getting hammered in the first, and then Lombard really gets hammered in the second. And I know they'd mentioned that the referee had went over and said, hey, we're not going to give you guys these extended outs anymore. But it was almost like a merciful stoppage where there's only about 10 unanswered strikes. How can you go from letting so much just not even affect ending the fight to now there's just a little bit without a response and all of a sudden it's over? To me, that's probably where Lombard's going to look back and maybe question what happened. But that fight should have been stopped at least 2 or 3 times before it actually was. To get to the main event, it was Frank Mir versus Mark Hunt. I actually picked Mir. You picked Hunt. And to me, Frank Mir, I had actually gotten tired of going against him because he really did come out and look like a different fighter. Today, he looked slow. His level changes, you could see from a mile away. And listen, he just got caught with a right that would have knocked anybody out. And Mark Hunt kind of did that trademark walk-off where he basically just stuck him, looked down, and was like, yeah, you don't want any more, and I'm just going to walk away from you.
I didn't think that Frank Mir was going to be able to close that distance without keeping his chin safe. Frank, and that's not saying anything negative towards Frank Mir. I think he's a great fighter. I think great things for the sport. But, once you've seen the weigh-ins and he comes in and he looks a little bit out of shape already, I just didn't think that he was going to have the ability to take down Mark Hunt. So I think that, my analysis at the beginning of the fight really held true. I think that once he came into punching range, which he was obviously not wanting to do, I think that, I think he felt his tops in the beginning and he was a little bit hesitant. I think he was already a little bit beaten mentally because of Mark Hunt's ability to just put fight-ending shots on people. And I think Mark Hunt knew that, and he did a really good job with feints and fakes, and was able to land that big shot to finish the fight. And hats off to Mark Hunt for not putting any unneeded damage on Frank Mir, knowing that he was out, knowing that he was hurt, and letting him not take those damaging shots.
And I think now maybe the conversation is going to go more away from Mark Hunt's win to where does Frank Mir go? He doesn't have anything left to prove. This is maybe his 5th or 6th knockout. Listen, I'm a Frank Mir fan. I don't want to see him get seriously hurt in a fight. And I'm not sitting here and saying that he can't defend himself. He still is a world-class fighter, but he's not at the level he once was. I think it's probably time that Frank hangs it up and continues to be the face for the UFC, commentating, whatever it may be. He's a personality the UFC needs. he doesn't need to go out on a shield the way he's continued to do these last couple fights.
I totally agree with that. I'm a huge Frank Mir fan. I think that he's had his day. He had a very long, successful career. He did some things that a lot of people are never going to be able to duplicate. I think that he has a really great career ahead of him in commentating and really breaking down fights and being the face of the heavyweight division. But as far as being a contender in the UFC at the heavyweight division, I think that those years are behind him. I think that the talent that's coming up, even for Mark Hunt, I think he's going to have a hard time with some of these guys that are at the top of this division, especially with the guys that are coming up. I really think that, like as we said in the preview, that these guys' days are numbered. And I think it's time for Frank Mir to, it sounds very cliche, but I think it's time for him to ride off in the sunset, enjoy his life, enjoy his career. I'm assuming that he's going to be in the UFC Hall of Fame at some point in time and just enjoy himself and look back on his career. And you can't be sad about the loss. Just be proud of yourself and move on to the next stage of your life and your career. And I really look forward to seeing what Frank Mir is going to do the rest of his career in MMA outside of fighting.
So with that said, we'll put a cap on this event. We'll look forward to the next one, which is going to be UFC Fight Night 86, Rothwell versus Dos Santos. It's been a starting week for this, and we obviously have gotten a lot of support from you guys, so I know myself and Anthony both appreciate it. We're going to continue to give you guys MMA content, and as always, appreciate you checking this video out.